Imagine for a moment that today is the best day of your professional life. You just walked out of your boss's office, and you received the news you have been waiting for. You got the promotion. Not just a small bump in pay, but a massive, life-changing raise. You are now making $40,000 a year more than you were yesterday. You call your family, you pop a bottle of champagne, and you celebrate. You feel a profound sense of relief, because you tell yourself that your financial struggles are finally over. You finally have enough money to build real wealth. But let's fast forward 5 years. 5 years later, you are making significantly more money than you ever have in your entire life. But when you look at your bank account, something terrifying is staring back at you. You have exactly the same amount of savings as you did 5 years ago. Your stress levels are actually higher. You feel like you are running on a treadmill that just keeps speeding up. And despite your massive salary, you are still living paycheck to paycheck. Where did all the money go? It didn't vanish. It wasn't stolen. It was quietly, systematically absorbed by the most dangerous financial trap of the modern middle class. Welcome back to Assets Over Appearances. Today, we are going to dissect a psychological phenomenon that destroys more millionaires in the making than stock market crashes or bad investments ever could. We are going to explore the silent wealth killer known as lifestyle inflation, and we are going to break down exactly why you should almost never upgrade your lifestyle. To understand why we instantly spend the money we earn, we have to look back to the 18th century, to a French philosopher named Denis Diderot. For almost his entire life, Diderot lived in poverty. But one day, the Empress of Russia heard of his financial troubles and bought his personal library for an absolute fortune. Suddenly, Diderot had more money than he knew what to do with. Shortly after his windfall, Diderot acquired a beautiful, luxurious scarlet robe. It was the nicest piece of clothing he had ever owned. But as he sat in his modest apartment wearing this magnificent robe, he looked around and a strange feeling washed over him. Suddenly, his old wooden desk looked cheap. His ratty carpet looked embarrassing. His simple chairs felt completely inadequate next to the elegance of his new scarlet robe. So, with his new wealth, Diderot bought a new rug from Damascus. But then the new rug made the old chairs look terrible, so he bought beautiful leather chairs. Then he needed a new desk to match the chairs. Then he needed new art to match the desk. Within a very short period of time, Diderot had spent almost all of his newfound wealth. He wrote an essay about this experience titled, "Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown." He realized that he was the master of his old, cheap robe, but he became a slave to his new, expensive one. Psychologists now call this the Diderot Effect. It is the psychological phenomenon where buying one new, upgraded item creates a spiral of consumption, forcing you to buy more upgraded items just to match the perceived status of the first one. And this is exactly what happens when you get a raise. You get a promotion, so you decide to reward yourself by upgrading your car. You buy a luxury SUV, but when you park that luxury SUV in front of your modest apartment, you start to feel a disconnect. The apartment doesn't match the car anymore, so you move to a more expensive neighborhood. But when you move to the more expensive neighborhood, you notice that your neighbors wear designer clothes and send their kids to expensive private schools. Suddenly, your perfectly fine wardrobe feels cheap. Your lifestyle choices feel inadequate. So you upgrade your clothes. You upgrade your vacations. You upgrade the restaurants you eat at. You didn't just buy a car. You bought an entirely new baseline for your existence. And that new baseline requires a massive, constant stream of cash just to maintain. This brings us to a fundamental law of human behavior, known as Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. But in personal finance, Parkinson's law takes a much darker form. Expenses expand to fill the income available. If you give an average person $3,000 a month, they will figure out a way to survive on $3,000. If you give that exact same person $10,000 a month, they will inevitably find a way to spend $10,000 a month. Society has programmed us to view our income as a permit to spend. We look at our paycheck not as a tool to buy our freedom, but as a monthly allowance for consumption. We look at the people around us, and we assume that because we make a certain amount of money, We are required to live a certain type of lifestyle to prove it. But here is the devastating reality of upgrading your lifestyle. When you upgrade your life, you are not buying happiness. You are buying a higher cost of existence. You are raising the stakes of your own survival. Let's talk about the concept of the golden handcuffs. Imagine you are living a modest life. Your rent is cheap, your car is paid off, and your overhead is very low. You only need $3,000 a month to survive. If you lose your job, or if you decide you hate your boss, you have options. You could take a few months off. You could take a lower-paying job that you actually love. You have leverage, because your life is cheap to maintain. Now, imagine you have upgraded everything. You have a massive mortgage on a luxury home. You have 2 expensive car payments. You have country club memberships and high-end credit card bills. Now, your life requires $10,000 a month just to break even. What happens to your leverage? It vanishes. You are completely trapped. If your boss yells at you, you have to sit there and take it, because if you lose that job, your entire world collapses in 30 days. You cannot start your own business because you can't afford the risk. You cannot pivot to a new career because you can't take a pay cut. You thought you were buying a luxury lifestyle. But what you actually bought was a luxury prison. You built a beautifully decorated cage, and you locked yourself inside it. The people who look the richest in our society are often the ones who are the most terrified. They are sweating through their designer suits, suffering from severe anxiety, because they are sprinting on a treadmill that never stops, and they know that if they stumble for even a second, they lose everything. This is the opposite of wealth. True wealth is not the ability to buy whatever you want. True wealth is the ability to do whatever you want with your time, and you cannot own your time if a bank owns your lifestyle. So, how do we defeat the Diderot Effect? How do we break Parkinson's law of money? The secret to building massive wealth is shockingly simple, but emotionally incredibly difficult. It requires you to do something that completely violates societal norms. You must intentionally, artificially cap your lifestyle. You have to draw a line in the sand and decide what your enough is. And once you reach enough, you freeze your standard of living, regardless of how much your income grows. Let's look at the mathematical miracle of freezing your lifestyle. Imagine you are making $60,000 a year. You have learned to live comfortably on $50,000, and you are investing $10,000 a year. Over time, you work hard, you build your skills, and your income doubles. You are now making $120,000 a year. The average person takes that extra $60,000 and instantly upgrades their house, their car, and their wardrobe. They feel rich, but their net worth barely moves. But what if you practiced stealth wealth? What if you made $120,000, but you continued to live exactly like you did when you made $60,000? You don't upgrade the house. You keep driving the reliable car. You stay off the Diderot treadmill. Instead of investing $10,000 a year, you are now investing $70,000 a year. You are pumping massive amounts of capital into appreciating assets. Index funds, real estate, or your own business. Because you refuse to upgrade your appearances, your assets explode. Within a decade, while your peers are drowning in debt trying to maintain their luxury lives, you will have built a 7-figure net worth. But the mathematical advantage is only half of the equation. The psychological advantage is even more powerful. When you artificially cap your lifestyle, you create a massive gap between your ego and your income. That gap is where freedom lives. When your overhead is extremely low, but your income and assets are extremely high, you walk through the world with an invisible armor. You possess a quiet, unshakable confidence that no Rolex or Ferrari could ever provide. You know that you are working because you choose to, not because you have to. You know that you could survive a recession without breaking a sweat. You stop caring about workplace politics because you don't desperately need the next bonus to keep your lights on. You achieve the ultimate status symbol of the modern world, peace of mind. Now, a lot of people hear this and they think it sounds miserable. They say, what is the point of making money if you don't spend it? Why work so hard if you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor? This is a valid question, but it stems from a deeply flawed premise. It assumes that Spending money on upgraded objects is the only way to experience joy. I am not suggesting that you live like a monk. I am not suggesting that you never go on vacation or that you eat rice and beans for the rest of your life. I am suggesting that you decouple your happiness from your level of consumption. I am suggesting that you stop upgrading your life out of a subconscious desire to prove your worth to other people. If you truly, deeply value travel, then spend money on travel. If you truly love good food, then eat at nice restaurants occasionally. But do it intentionally, do it with cash, and do not let that upgrade spill over into every other area of your life. You can have a nice vacation without needing a nice car, a nice watch, and a nice house to match it. You have to learn to define your own version of a rich life, rather than accepting the version that advertisers have designed to keep you broke. The greatest trick the financial system ever pulled was convincing the working class that wealth is measured by what you have purchased, rather than what you have saved. They want you to upgrade. They want you to finance the new car. They want you to take the bigger mortgage. Because every time you upgrade, you transfer your wealth from your pocket to theirs. You have to realize that the most successful people in the world, the ones who hold true generational wealth, are masters of restraint. Look at Warren Buffett. One of the richest men in human history still lives in the same modest house in Omaha, Nebraska, that he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He could buy 100 mega mansions. He could have a fleet of private yachts. But he understands that upgrading his house would not upgrade his happiness. It would only upgrade his headaches. He understands that the ultimate luxury is not owning a lot of expensive things. The ultimate luxury is owning yourself. So, the next time you get a raise, the next time you get a bonus, or the next time your business has a record month, I want you to resist the urge to celebrate by spending. I want you to pause. I want you to look at your current life and ask yourself if you actually need a better car, or if you just want the dopamine hit of a new purchase. Ask yourself if a bigger house will actually make your family happier, or if it will just require more cleaning, more maintenance, and more stress. Take that extra money and buy your freedom. Buy investments. Buy time. Buy security. Let your coworkers buy the luxury cars. Let your neighbors buy the oversized houses. Let them play the exhausting, endless game of lifestyle inflation. You will remain quiet. You will remain disciplined. You will stay exactly where you are, perfectly content in your boring, ordinary-looking life, while you quietly construct a financial empire in the background. You will choose to be wealthy instead of just looking wealthy. If this video challenged the way you think about money, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We are building a community of people who see through the illusions of modern society and choose to build real, quiet wealth. I want to hear from you in the comments below. What is one area of your life where you have completely refused to upgrade, even though you can afford to? Let's share our strategies for staying grounded. Remember, the world wants you to inflate your lifestyle so you stay trapped in the system. Refuse to play their game. Choose assets over appearances. I will see you in the next video.